we've had a lot of requests for a demonstration of the Pi Integrator for SAP HANA, and we happen to have some live data from a real solar installation, and we've used it to create a scenario that highlights the value of this integrator. So specifically, we have data for this company, Swift Enterprises, from their collection of solar arrays. And now, these solar arrays are all generating power, and we'd expect that they'd all be behaving identically, but we actually know that that's not actually the case. They're actually performing differently, and we want to investigate why. Now, fortunately, AF lets us include all this metadata, like their model and their manufacturer and the ambient weather conditions, and we believe that this metadata can help us get to the root of why we're seeing unequal power generation from all of these assets. And we're going to publish this data to SAP HANA to let us do that analysis. And so we have a HANA instance, and here is where we want our data ultimately to reside. And that's what the integrator is going to allow us to do. So we're going to start using the integrator in a web browser. We're going to take what we have here in AF and publish it. So in order to create that publication, we open the integrator in a web browser. I don't have to install any particular software on my machine. I simply access its web page, and I start creating a new asset view. This is the name of my publication. So I'll just call it Asset Comparison, and I'll hit Create. And now what I need to do is I need to select which data I want to publish in this publication. So the first thing I want to do is I want to select my Pi AF server and my Pi AF database. And I'm going to select the same Pi AF server and same Pi AF database that I was looking at in Pi System Explorer. And since it's familiar to me, since it's the same one, I can navigate right down to the exact same place, to my solar power generation fleet, my regions, and I can select one of the arrays that I want to analyze and compare. And sure enough, I'll pick, let's say I'll pick array 1 or so, but I could pick any of these arrays. I'll start with one and then publish the data for all of them right after. So picking array 1, you can see that the integrator is fully AF aware, so it brought in all of my attributes and my categories, so it easily groups my attributes for me. And these are the same attribute categories that I saw here in Pi System Explorer. So these categories make it very easy for me to drag whole groups of attributes, like all of my metadata, all of my local weather, and all of my live telemetry into my publication. Now I want to apply this publication on all of these assets that you see right here, and the integrator makes it very easy for me to do that. I simply need to uncheck the name filter and match on asset template. And this is very important because in my AF database, all of my elements use the exact same AF element template. And that allows the integrator to search and automatically find all matching instances of my solar array template. And it'll do that for me. It's an incredible time saver for scaling this publication. And this is a preview of the columns that are going to be published in a row column format. But I want to add additional columns. I actually want to add a column for the day of week and the hour of day, because I think these are going to be important for my analysis. So these will be added as additional columns to my publication, and sure enough, here they are. But I know that operational data isn't always perfect, so the integrator makes it very easy for you to cleanse your data. For example, I'm going to cleanse values and only include cases where my generation was actually positive, since I know that there was a sensor mishap that caused it to erroneously be reported as negative. I simply applied a filter to let the integrator cleanse those erroneous values away. And similarly here, I'll apply another filter to cleanse out null values, and this makes sure that my publication is pristine and ready for analysis in SAP HANA. So after applying that data cleansing, I'll next pick my interpolation interval, and I'll synchronize all my timestamps in all of my rows by every 15 minutes, and I can pick any interval I really want. Having picked that interval, my last real step is to pick the start and end time for my timestamps. So I know that something very interesting happened in the month of December, so I'll go ahead and actually pick the entire month of December for my publication. And I know that the integrator can handle it. It was designed to publish large data volumes. So after hitting apply, I can quickly recap what I've done. I've gone ahead and added my 2 new columns. I've cleansed my data of null and negative values. I've set my interpolation interval and my start and end time. And that's actually it. I can simply go ahead and hit next. And now it's found all the matching instances. It's found all my start and end time. I could set this to run on a schedule every few minutes to publish certain segments of data, but I'll have this run once as a pie view. I'll go ahead and click Publish, and it'll let me know that I'm going to go ahead and publish, and yes, I want to confirm and start the publication. And what's going to happen next is the integrator is going to reach out to the pie system, and using that definition, all of those columns and those cleansing and filtering rules, it's going to reach out and select that data within my pie system and start publishing it in a format that's easily available to SAP HANA. So once this publication is complete, we're actually going to open SAP HANA Studio and show how you can view this data and pull it into SAP HANA. It'll take only a few seconds more for it to publish all of those thousands of rows of data from the pie system, and very quickly we can go ahead and start analyzing them. Now with my publication complete, here's where I start to leave the pie system. I'm going to enter fully into the realm of SAP's software platform. So specifically, I'm going to open a tool called SAP HANA Studio now that my publication is complete. And HANA Studio is SAP's own tool for taking a look and managing data within an SAP HANA appliance. So specifically, you can see I've connected to my HANA instance, and the integrator allows the pie system to be exposed as a remote source within SAP HANA. And that's because we have specified and created a new adapter. And this new adapter allows us to create a connection to the pie system through the Pi Data Access Server, which you can see I've specified right here. I've signed in with credentials, and it allows me direct access to all the pie views that I publish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and refresh this connection. SAP HANA is going to use this new adapter, query the Pi Data Access Server, and bring in all of the new pie views that exist. And sure enough, what I expect is one of those pie views is going to be that asset comparison that I just published from the integrator. So scrolling down, sure enough, there it is, asset comparison. And that contains all of the published data that I just specified through the integrator. So let me now go ahead and set this to be a virtual table within SAP HANA. And that's going to make it easier for me to later analyze it within SAP's software suite. So I'll go ahead and hit Add as a virtual table. I'll leave the name here as it's specified, as its defaults, and I'll simply go ahead and hit Create. And this is an important step that'll make it much easier for me to later analyze this publication within SAP's software. And sure enough, the virtual table has been created, and I can go ahead and start taking a look at that data. Now, if you're familiar with SAP software, at this point, you can analyze it. But here, I just want to show a quick preview of what the data actually looks like and how we can do some very brief top-level analysis of it. So sure enough, I have my asset comparison table listed right here under the System section of my catalog. And sure enough, you see all of the columns are listed and they're exact same data types as they were published from the Pi system. I have my solar array template, my local time, my array number, my current power generation, all of my metadata and real-time streaming data exactly as it came from the Pi system. Only now it's here within SAP HANA. And I'm actually going to show you how we can do some really quick analysis of it simply within HANA Studio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a data preview to actually let us look at all of the different rows within this. And after all those rows are brought in, we're going to start analyzing them. And here's my publication in its true row and column format. And this makes it very easy for me to analyze all of these columns of data. So for example, right here within SAP HANA Studio, I can click the Analysis tab, do some really quick analyses of solar array performance. So again, my goal is to investigate patterns amongst the performance of my assets. So let's start with something we're familiar with, a trend that you might see in, say, PyCoreSite or PyProcessBook, a traditional OSIsoft tool. Let's look at simply a time series trend of current power generation over time. And sure enough, this seems to be something that we're familiar with, but a simple time series plot actually hides a lot of the true behavior that's going on with these assets. And that's why publishing my data to SAP HANA lets me do more sophisticated analysis. Like for example, analyzing my data by hour of day, which sums it up as a single unified day and really lets me see the overall average behavior of all of my assets. But again, I actually want to delve into what's different between all of them, so I can actually also slice them by model, for example. And here I can start to see some discrepancies. It looks like model number 74656 really seems to be underperforming. And And sure enough, when I set the display to be by average rather than sum, the discrepancy becomes even larger. Now I have even more metadata available in my publication. In addition to model, I can also drag on my manufacturer, for example. So let's see the impact of manufacturer on my current power generation. Okay, and here we can clearly see a discrepancy between manufacturers. Looks like M Motors seems to be much lower than C Engineering or KDY. And these were patterns that were hidden when I simply looked at the data in a time series view. But now that I have this available in SAP HANA, where I can do even more complicated analysis, let me take a look, just as a last example, at my last service state. And here I can see, for example, that there are some assets that haven't even been serviced in over a year. Undoubtedly, I'm going to find many more interesting findings about all my assets, impactful business discoveries that can change how I run my business. And if I want to go even further, I could use a more sophisticated visualization tool like SAP Lumira, for example. Or I could actually do additional analysis within SAP HANA itself and leverage the full power of that appliance. I've started with data that is in the Pi system. I've moved from the Pi system to the integrator, created a publication, and now my data fully resides in SAP HANA. And from here, the possibilities are endless. And that's the power of the Pi integrator for SAP HANA, getting from the Pi system to SAP's fantastic platform efficiently, quickly, and easily.